Hey guys, it's Luke here. Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm actually going to show you how I've started a brand at the beginning of this year and within 130 days, taken it from $0 to over $55,000. And I'm going to share the exact blueprint and step-by-step that I took in order to generate those results. But to start with, let's jump into my Shopify dashboard so I can show you exactly those results. So as you can see here in my Shopify analytics, I've actually put an entire year in terms of the time frame here so that you can see that I am not lying when I said I've started this in December. As you can see here, it literally was launched on the 31st of December. We got one sale on that first day, and so really technically it's literally the beginning of this year was the starting point. And as you can see from that point, it's just gone from strength to strength to strength. We had a little bit of a dip last month, and already in May, it's the 10th of May today. That's why I've put the date range from the 10th of May to the 10th of May. We are on track this month to do 20,000 British pounds. So we're growing and growing and growing. And so this blueprint that I'm about to show you is something that you can actually replicate, use to actually create your own brand, launch your own product, and achieve very, very similar results. So with that being said, let's jump straight into it. So this is the flowchart that I've put together to really show you the steps that I took. And the steps that I took literally are, first of all, coming up with an idea. Second of all, actually then getting that product designed / sourced, and then obviously putting in the order to get the inventory in the first place, and actually how much of inventory I started with. So I'll disclose all of that within this. Then obviously there's like a pre-launch strategy, right? So everything that we need to prepare, from building the website for the first time, the sort of content we need, everything we need to make sure that we're going to be a success the moment that we press the launch button. Then obviously the launch, what happens there, how are we getting traffic, how are we generating conversions, and everything that went into making sure that this would be as successful as possible. And actually, then what happens when you run out of your first batch of inventory? Because that's the goal, right? Is sell out as quickly as possible. And obviously, it's going to take time then to get inventory back in. We actually really had to make the most of a pre-order strategy. And I'm also going to be sharing that with you. And you'll see just how amazing that is for growth and how it really helps you bootstrap a business without having to require huge amounts of capital or investment in the early stages. And then finally, we're going to discuss the scale stage. What are we doing right now in order to achieve the results that we're getting? And like I said, how I can now actually forecast at least £20,000 worth of revenue in the month of May. So let's jump in. And the first thing that we're going to discuss is the idea. And we just need one idea. That's really important to remember. Like, you're not looking to answer all of the problems. You are just trying to find one idea. And that's why a lot of us refer to that next winning product, right? What is that product going to be that is going to almost guarantee success? And so I'm going to walk you through a framework that I have used to both help other people launch brands, but also how I've launched this exact brand that's generated those results I've just shown you, so that you can actually take that framework and use it yourself in order to come up with that next winning product idea. The first thing that I always recommend doing, and I think this is something that is very much overlooked, is actually looking at daily problems. The best products are usually answers to a big problem, right? They are the solution in the form of a physical product that actually solves a problem that a huge number of people deal with. The best way to come up with these problems, and you might already have some ticking around in your mind already, but the best way that I have found to come up with these daily problems that we all experience is to literally set yourself the task of the next couple of days to literally take note of every single one of those small to big problems that you or someone close to you experiences, right? And so you need to obviously train your mind within that period to really be on the lookout for those little problems that you're going to experience. To give you some examples, right, that can be anything to do with cooking, cleaning, leaving laundry or dirty washing on the floor, and, the pain of then having to drag that basket downstairs, or the basket not being big enough, or, taking the bin out and the bin itself getting messy. These are just ideas that are coming to my mind. But if you start training your mind to look for these small little problems, they can be big problems as well, but small little problems that you experience on a day-to-day basis, most likely there are going to be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of other people that also experience that. And that's the basis for finding a potential product solution. Now, once you've actually spent 2-3 days writing down all of these different problems, and really it's not more complicated than that. It's pick up a notepad and pen, or do it in your, notes on your phone. Just take notes of every single problem that you experience for the next 2-3 days. You'll probably end up with about 100 different ideas, and that's exactly where you want to be. Then you're going to be trying to get that list of, let's say, 100 ideas down to something like 5 or 10, right? And in order to do that, you are just going to be literally going back through that list and really thinking hard about, actually, is there a product solution that comes to mind straight away, right? That's immediately, just through common sense, you're going to be able to bring that list down usually to 5 or 10. And realistically, you're looking for problems that are relatively simple to provide solutions for, right? You're not trying to create a really complicated product that's going to require, huge investment, huge prototypes, all of that. We're not trying to do that. We're trying to create a product quickly, efficiently, so that you can start generating money as quickly as possible. So the next stage, when you've got those 5 to 10 ideas, is you're going to be using things like forums or social media to really get an understanding of whether other people are seeing this as a big enough problem that they're looking to solve. Because if people are going to places like Reddit or Quora, they're forums where people will literally ask questions about these day-to-day problems, and people will respond if it's a problem that other people deal with. And that is going to be a great sign. If you can see that sort of, feedback. For example, one of the problems that I saw owning a dog is, I get a lot of dog hair on my clothes. And so that was a problem I did some research on, and I found all over Quora, all over Reddit, all of these different forums, questions and answers about how do people try to resolve that. How do they start, managing their closet, their wardrobe to stop catching so many hairs on their clothes. There are literally thousands of people asking these questions and answering those questions as well. So that was an amazing sign to show me that actually that was a problem that people, felt was worthwhile trying to solve. So that again is where, these are the areas of opportunity, if you like, that are going to allow you to actually potentially create a product that will solve the problem that for sure hundreds of thousands of people are struggling with right now. So look at forums, look at social media to really see, are people experiencing the same problem? If they are, it means that you've got a target market, and that's really important. You do not want to create a product where no one else really sees it as a big enough problem or something that they're requiring a product for, right? So this just solidifies that actually there is a need for something. Then through that research, more than likely, you're naturally going to stumble across what the current solutions are, right? So once you've kind of started to see what those current solutions are, you're going to want to start looking at those products more in depth. Look at their reviews more importantly, right? Look at their negative reviews. The negative reviews are really going to highlight what it is that is letting that customer down about that current solution that is available to them. They are going to be the biggest things that you can use, those nuggets of opportunity that you can use in order to take a similar product that's currently being sold and actually add a twist, a unique element to it that's going to solve some of that negative feedback that those customers are mentioning. Because you're going to be killing literally 3 birds with 1 stone here. First of all, by doing this research, you're going to solidify, like I said, that there is actually a need for it. There's a marketplace, there is an audience that would buy a product like this. Secondly, you're going to be able to actually identify what the current solutions are on the market. And obviously, if they're selling products already, it means people are willing to spend money in order to solve that problem. So that's tick number 2. And tick number 3 is if there are, lots of negative reviews about some of those current solutions, that is going to provide you with an opportunity to create a product that takes those negative or, that opportunity feedback into account and create a product that would therefore then solve those pieces of feedback, therefore creating a better variety of product in order to save that same original problem. So hopefully now you're starting to see how this is just literally a step-by-step process where you can literally start with a problem and ultimately create a product that is going to be the ultimate solution for that original problem. So by following that process, you should then really end up with a very clear idea as to what it is, the product that you're looking for in order to actually create a really, really wonderful solution. When you get to that stage, that's when you can actually move to the product stage. So as soon as you've got an idea and you know what it is that you're looking to create in terms of that product, waste no time, go to Alibaba, start looking at what some of those current solutions are available on the market, and they're the suppliers that you're going to want to speak to, right? So out of the current solutions, you're going to want to find similar products to those solutions on Alibaba. Most likely, if you're going to be creating something slightly unique, that slightly unique product is obviously not going to exist. So your best bet is to find the most similar product that you can on Alibaba and actually reach out to those suppliers, reach out to as many as you can, and ask if they're able to work with you in order to design that slightly different variation of that product that they're currently producing. And trust me, I know that this is doable because that's exactly what I did with my brand. And I literally had 10, 15 different suppliers that were willing to work with me in order to make that happen. And I had no previous purchase history with them. So it's definitely doable, and it's definitely something you shouldn't be scared of, but you just have to be realistic with how complicated you're going to get in terms of what that necessary requirement's going to be with building that product. So don't overcomplicate it, but absolutely, if you're going to be making slight tweaks to it, very small, subtle changes that ultimately are going to make it a better experience for the customer, that is absolutely worth your time to work with the supplier in order to actually create that product. So couple of things that I want to add to this in terms of the product is that there are some winning attributes that definitely apply to a product that are really going to help you from a marketing perspective when you have the product ready, actually sell it. And some of these are going to be, first of all, the product being a hook itself, right? So often a product being a hook itself means that it has some sort of function that you can display in the form of content that is actually going to be incredibly captivating or intriguing to a lot of potential customers without you having to explain it. To really paint the picture for this, you have products like supplements, for example, right? Yes, they might come in all different sorts of fancy packaging, and that might look very different from brand to brand. But in itself, a supplement, let's say protein powder in a protein packet, it is not a hook, right? There is nothing about that product sitting there that is in itself a hook. Whereas a product that actually has a function that actually can be demonstrated within a video, for example, let's say a special type of cleaning device for your car, and you can see that it's, let's say, vacuuming inside the car, it has function. Visually, in itself, the product creates a hook. And that is by far the easiest way that I have found to market a product to begin with. And that is just going to make your marketing and your conversion and cost per acquisition, essentially, to actually get customers buying from you much easier. So the other thing that I did, the brand that I've shown you the results for is a jewelry brand. And one thing that I would try to do, if it fits within the idea and the problem that you're creating, is try to think of products that are small and lightweight. The reason for that is because you can then have them shipped from China, for example, by air, at a very, very reasonable delivery cost, and you're not going to have to wait months for it to be, shipped by sea freight. So that's a real benefit that I have with my brand because it is jewelry, because it's light. I can ship all of my inventory by air, and I don't have those long delays between different shipments. So that's something to bear in mind when you're starting your e-commerce brand and starting with a brand new product. And the other thing is that with mine, I did all the same research that I've mentioned here. I, saw that there was potential for this product to be a hook, and I created a function within it. And then one step further is that during my research, I could see that there was actually viral pieces of content that were similar to the problem/solution that I was creating. And so that meant that I knew that if I created really good quality content and I put it on TikTok and Instagram, I also had a very high chance of going viral as well. And I actually did do that. I had a video that went to almost 1 million views on Instagram. I'll probably put a video, a screenshot of that right here. But yes, that was another very telltale sign of this is got great potential. And it's just another green tick as to, limiting the risk of me actually investing in this product and brand. And before we move on to the rest of this video, that is one thing to bear in mind here, that this is always going to be a risk, but it needs to be a calculated risk. And so everything I've provided you here within this framework is simply that. It's giving you all the tools in order to really eliminate all of the potential, absolute no-nos and end up with something that actually does have real opportunity. And so there is no guarantee, of course, that it's going to be the next winning product, but there is a much higher chance that it will be. And so by doing it this way, you're going to be taking a calculated risk with, a high chance of being somewhat successful. And so with that in mind, My initial order, just to give you some context, was simply 100 units, and that cost me $750. So I didn't try to, put myself in a desperate situation where I tried to buy as much stock as I could or anything like that. I simply bought 100 units, I invested $750, and that was my starting point. So once I kind of nailed the product, and once I had, that on its way, and I'd put the order in and I was literally waiting to receive those 100 units, I started my preparation, ready to get this product and brand launched. So there's a couple of stages here that you need to consider, right, when you're getting ready to launch the brand for the first time. First one is going to be content. You need to have top quality content, but that does not mean investing in a professional photographer or videographer and investing thousands and thousands of dollars or pounds into having that done. It just means you picking up the camera and being patient enough to figure out what it takes to create decent videos and photos using your phone. If you have a camera, if you have that skill set, absolutely amazing. But everything I've done for my brand, every single pound that I made using this brand was all done through content that I created off of my phone. So yes, down the line, and now I've already got things in place to start investing in higher quality content using photographers and professionals in that space. But to begin with, it's an expense that you do not need to have. Yes, it's going to take some time, and I'm a crap photographer, I'm a crap videographer, but I managed to figure it out, right? I managed to get to a point where it made sense and the videos and photos actually were of very good quality, but it did take time. So get onto a YouTube video, figure out how to get the settings right onto your iPhone, your Android phone, whatever it is that you use, and start getting the content taken yourself. In terms of specific content that you're going to need obviously clear photos and videos demonstrating that functional product for your website, and that will also double up as content and B-roll that you can use for your organic and ad content, right? So you just want to get a really nice kind of database of as much photography and video stuff that you can get of your product, so you can use it for the website, and you can also use it for all of your social media platforms. But really make sure that, if you do have some sort of functional product, that you are demonstrating that in both photos and videos. So that can be, almost a centerpiece on your product page. UGC is the next thing that you're going to want to work on. You are going to absolutely need this. Highly recommend that in order to, again, save expenses, you go to family and friends. Aim to get 4 or 5 pieces of content. If you can't get your family or friends to do it, there are services like Billo or Clip that you can use, which is a paid for service where you're placed with content creators and you pay on a per video basis. I'll link them below. But if you can avoid that, initially just get some friends and families to do it for you. There's nothing complicated about UGC content. You just need them to speak in front of the camera talking about your product. And last but not least, when it comes to content, you definitely, right from the get-go, want to start getting into a routine essentially with your organic content. I'm going to link the video that I just created about how you can actually create a very systemized way of creating that content regularly. And the video that I've linked above will show you using ChatGPT in 5 minutes how you can come up with 30 content ideas for your brand so that they're fully scripted, fully ready to go. And it's just going to make your life way easier when it comes to actually recording that content. So go check that out, but it's something that you definitely should start as soon as possible. The next stage is going to be the website. Shopify, no-brainer, and use a theme. What I mean by that is don't get stuck into the trap of trying to develop or code a website. Don't pay someone, don't try to do it yourself, just use the theme, and specifically use the theme yourself. Try and actually learn to build the website yourself, because not only will you then understand how the website functions, and if you need to make changes, you can do that yourself, but also it's going to keep expenses to an absolute minimum. I'm really trying to show you a way here where you can grow a brand with incredibly minimal investment, which is what I've done here. Main focus with that website is going to be the product page. If you're starting with one product like this framework is suggesting, you're going to be sending all of your traffic, all of the time is going to be spent on your product page. So that's where 90% of your focus needs to be. So really work on getting that absolutely nailed, because that's where majority of your potential customers are going to be making the buying decision anyway. Couple of absolutely crucial apps to kind of make sure, or functionalities that you have within your website, are going to be reviews. So like judge.me is a great one, and slide cart. So meaning when someone adds a product to cart, the cart actually slides out from the right hand side and they don't actually need to go to a separate page for the cart. These are just becoming almost the norm when it comes to shopping online. So adding those two things are absolutely crucial and will only lead to a better conversion rate. So make sure you implement apps in order to allow you to do that. The next thing is going to be coming up with an offer for your launch, right? First of all, check competitors, see what they're doing. What are their price points, their offers? What is it that they're doing in order to create incentive for their customers to buy? That's going to give you a lot of ideas as to the sort of discounts or offers that you can potentially run with your brand and product. Second thing that you're going to want to do is get very, very specific and accurate with your unit economics. So how much does it actually cost you to produce your products, the cost of goods? How much does it cost you to actually get that product landed at wherever you're based in order to, then send that product to the customer? And again, how much is it going to cost you then to actually ship that product to the customer, including your packaging, all of that kind of stuff? Really, and ultimately, you want to end up with a number on a per product or per unit basis as to how much it costs you to get that product sent to you from your supplier, and then how much does it actually then cost you to get that product to your customer. That's going to give you a really, really clear idea of your exact expense of getting that product from the supplier to the customer. And that's then going to allow you to work out a very, very accurate margin so that you know how much profit you've got to play with. Because within that profit margin, you're then going to have to start considering how much is it going to cost you in terms of paid spend on advertising platforms like Facebook or Instagram, TikTok, whatever, in order to acquire that customer. So you need to have wiggle room, and ideally you should be sitting at sort of 60 to 80% profit margins before that ad spend is taken into account, right? So those margins should literally be your sell point or sell price minus the cost, all of the costs associated to getting that product from your supplier to the customer's doorstep. So those metrics are going to be really, really important in order to understand what it's going to take in order to make this business work and actually be profitable. That brings me on to target CPA, your cost per acquisition. How much does it actually cost you in order to get a new customer to buy a product? And so that's not something you're going to know straight away. That's something that you're going to learn from running ads over the next, few weeks and really determining what is a realistic customer acquisition cost. And so that's something that you need to factor in when you're looking at your margins. If you are, working with 30, 40% margins by the time that product's landed with you, you're going to really struggle to make that make sense when you start running ads. So you need to think about these things prior to committing to a certain product or solution. If it just doesn't make sense, you might need to look at something alternative. Last thing I'm going to say about the offer, you need to make sure it's really simple. So don't try and get clever or fancy with your offer. Just make it a really big incentive. Percentage off, and ideally free shipping, and also make sure it's easy for the customers to claim. You do not want a friction point where they need to figure out where the code's going to be, or you're making it difficult to find the code, or they have to jump through so many hoops to get it. You simply want to make it as easy as possible. Make sure it's visible on the product pages, make sure it's visible in the cart, make sure that they can see that discount code if there is one, or even better, make it an automatic discount so they don't even have to worry. We can get fancy with it later on when you're actually making consistent sales as to who's going to be, incentivized and who's going to actually receive discounts or different offers. But to begin with, we just want to start getting customer sales so that we can get that proof of concept for that particular product. The next stage is going to be launching. So at the launch stage, with any new brand, if you want to get it up and running straight away, you're going to have to do some form of paid ads, right? We need to start generating traffic to the website so we can start generating sales. Yes, you can do that with organic, and that's why I said start organic straight away, but it's not going to be as consistent as paid ads, and it's going to take longer in order to actually get the right traffic to your website and then obviously start turning that traffic into sales. So I always want to start with ads because I want to get the ball rolling and I want to start making money straight away, right? So ads, I tend to fall towards Meta to begin with. Start with a starting budget that you can afford. For me, that was literally £40 per day. So I split that across 2 ad set, targeted 2 different audiences. I had a couple of creatives and I just let that run. And straight away I started getting feedback, I started getting a few sales, and from there I've just been able to grow it up. That's a separate video in terms of how I would structure the ad account and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't need to get too complicated to begin with. Some of those main metrics that you're looking for when it comes to ads, though, is going to be your click-through rate, right? Are people actually paying attention to your video, and are they actually clicking through? So anything above a 1% CTR is going to be good, but anything above, 2%, etc., is going to be really, really good. That then tells you that you've got a really good piece of creative that's actually doing its job. It's catching people's attention and it's driving them to the website. If you're not getting conversions, that might then be more of a problem on the website than the ad itself. So just bear that in mind. So CTR is 1, cost per click. Again, you want to be around $1, £1, whatever it is. Anything more than that, when you get sort of £2, £3, you're spending way too much. It's costing you way too much to get a person to the website. So definitely keep an eye on that. And obviously your cost per acquisition. You want to make sure when you're factoring in your margins that it's actually making sense. If you're selling a product for, let's say, £50 and it costs you £20 to actually get that product and send it to the customer, you've got £30 there to play with, right, in terms of your actual margin. If it's costing you over £30 to acquire that customer, you're doing it unprofitably. Now, that might be okay to begin with because you need to start getting the ball rolling. But if it's consistently over £30, most likely you can't afford to keep running ads like that, and you need to change something up, and you need to have a look at the creative, you need to have a look at the website, the offer. There must be something wrong with the marketing funnel, and you need to try and figure out what it is that's actually wrong with it so that you can improve and bring that customer acquisition cost down so that actually you can start being profitable. Next thing you're going to want to do in the launch is not neglect email. Not neglect email, not neglect SMS. First thing you're going to want to do is set up a pop-up. So the pop-up on the website that pops up, giving the customer an offer or an incentive if they sign up and subscribe to your email. Make sure you implement this day one that you start running ads, because the minute you start getting traffic to the website, you want to start collecting as many emails and phone numbers as possible, because that is just going to provide you with another opportunity to reach out to that potential customer through email or through SMS, and potentially they'll come back to your website later on and make a purchase. So make sure you have a pop-up at the very least when you start running ads. But you're also going to want to make sure that you have certain automations or flows set up so that you can have these being triggered when a customer or potential customer does subscribe, and they are then going to start receiving these regular emails from you. So that's going to include your welcome flow, that's going to include your abandoned cart, abandoned checkout flow, browse abandonment flow, and customer thank you flow. They're the 5 core flows that I always recommend having set up. There are more, but to begin with, make sure you have those 5 set up. And last but not least, fulfillment. You've probably heard of 3PLs, and you've probably, seen people, doing it themselves and fulfilling orders themselves. My personal recommendation when you're starting out, 100% do it yourself. You're going to have to anyway with the small quantity, but it's actually a very, very good thing. Not only are you going to start, getting connected with your product, and you're going to be able to start maybe noticing faults with it, but you're also going to be able to keep much better track on inventory, and you're also going to be able to start seeing the whole process right through from start to finish. Going back to, the quality of your item. By fulfilling it yourself, you're going to be able to notice if there is, a huge number of, units that are maybe damaged or, aren't up to quality in order to, be sold. And that's going to be really important feedback that you then need to give to your supplier. So that's why I fulfill everything myself, because I'm also then able to keep a tab on how many of the units that I've ordered are, damaged or unsellable. And really anything, more than 5-10% is something to be flagged up with the supplier so that you can bring that down. But you have to understand that in any e-commerce business, when you're selling a physical product, you are going to receive a portion from your supplier that is going to be damaged and unusable. It's just the way it is, but anything above 5-10% is something to definitely try to rectify. And the other thing with the fulfillment side of things is obviously shipping it. Make sure you just get that. Don't overcomplicate it again. Use your local, service provider, or the cheapest service provider is absolutely fine. Don't overcomplicate it. In the UK, we have Royal Mail. That's what I use. Don't overcomplicate it. They collect it from my house, and I can do that on a day-to-day basis. So again, it's just trying to understand everything that goes into an e-commerce brand. And the more that you can expose yourself to, even though it might be a little bit overwhelming to begin with, the more that you're going to learn about the entire business and how it all functions, which is going to be really important as you begin to grow. The next stage is going to be pre-order. So pre-order is something that became incredibly important for my brand and allowed me to continue this growth from month to month to month. As I've pointed out, I started with only 100 units. And because of all the research I did, because of all the marketing, the content, all the preparation I did in the pre-launch stage, it actually sold out within a week. And so I was in this situation where everything was going really well. Ads were working the way they should be, and we were off to an absolute flying start, but I sold out of my product. So instead of killing that momentum and bringing everything back down to zero, no sales while I was waiting for the inventory to come, I decided to put everything into a pre-order. And so a couple of things that you need to know about a pre-order, and I think this warrants its own separate video, but a couple of things you need to know about a pre-order is that you're going to have to make some changes specifically to the website. You don't need to make too many changes to the ads. In actual fact, I didn't make any changes to the ads. I let them run because they were working the way they needed to. You don't need to mention pre-order in the ads. But the first thing you're going to want to do on the website is you're going to want to be incredibly clear with the messaging on your website. Do not hide the fact that it's a pre-order. Be very, very upfront about the fact it's a pre-order, because if you're not, you're just going to create an absolute customer service nightmare for yourself, because a whole bunch of people are going to be buying from you expecting to receive the product really, really quickly, and then they're not, because obviously it's a pre-order. So be very clear about it. One thing that can help you to still increase the number of conversions and still get people buying from you just as much as when the product was in stock is to be very clear about delivery dates. Ideally, again, going back to the fact that, my brand is jewelry orientated and I'm able to ship things by air, it meant that actually the lead times from receiving, putting in the order and receiving my product were pretty damn short, a couple of weeks really. And so that allowed me to get very, very clear with my customers on the product page as to when they could expect to receive the product. One tip, always give yourself a little bit of wiggle room. Suppliers, sending something from literally halfway around the world, there's always going to be some sort of delay. So always give yourself another week or another couple weeks of wiggle room between, actually receiving the product in terms of an expected delivery date and actually when you're going to start sending out those products to a customer. So give yourself that wiggle room, and that means then on the product page, you can actually state that, 2 weeks after you should receive the product, that's when you're going to start sending out these particular orders. I did that. I had no problem. In actual fact, we started selling more through pre-order than we were the first week. So just goes to show you, as long as you get the messaging right and you're very upfront and transparent about the whole situation, pre-orders can actually be a very, very good thing. And last thing that you need to know about the pre-order is that you should make sure that it's clear that you're only doing a pre-order because you sold out. People don't want to be doing a pre-order because it's a brand new product. They want to be buying a pre-order because it's exciting, because people have bought it so much that it's sold out. It must be something that thousands of people are buying. It must be an amazing product, which it is. And so by stating it's sold out, will be in stock soon, pre-order now, you're creating that sense of security that this is a product that actually is in high demand, and that's why it needs to be pre-ordered, right? So it's really important that you get the messaging right there, because it completely changes the perception and the psychology of the customer potentially buying. And make sure that you have a slightly better incentive for pre-order, right? People are going to have to wait. So if you ran, a 10% discount, for example, when you had stock, maybe increase that to 15, 20% if your margins allow for it. One thing I'll mention with the pre-order before we move on to scale is the app that I used in order to add that sort of messaging, and we actually were able to change our button from add to cart or buy now to pre-order. We used an app called TimesAct. You can check that out on the Shopify App Store. I'll put a link in the description as well. Brilliant app, really easy to use, and they charge you on a per order basis. So it's really easy to kind of judge that based on how much growth you have, and you can always increase the package as you grow as well. So definitely recommend TimesAct. Never had any problems with it whatsoever. Last but not least, scale. Let's start with ads. So with ads, through the course of running, ads for the first few weeks, you're going to start seeing which are your best creatives, what is the best audiences and targeting that are working for you. And what you're going to want to do is get very, very clear on those winning ads, right? You're going to want to start creating post IDs so that you can start congregating all of the engagement. So people commenting, people liking, people sharing. into one ad. That way, when you then start creating new ad sets and you want to use that same ad, you're not duplicating the engagement onto 5 different ads. You're keeping all of the engagement on one. And that's obviously just going to look way, way better to a potential customer when they see an ad on their feed that's got thousands of likes, hundreds of comments. That's going to be way more appealing than looking at an ad that's got 1 comment and no likes, right? So that's something that's really important. More engagement, higher chance of them clicking on the ad and actually coming to the website. Things that I'm doing now when it comes to scaling is I'm obviously taking those winning creatives and I'm testing new audiences. I'm seeing what audiences are working better. I'm trying broad, I'm trying Advantage Plus, I'm trying interest-based, demographic-based. I'm trying absolutely everything because I know that I've got winning ads and I'm just trying to find out what different audiences can I use in order to try and maximize the return I'm getting. All of a sudden, I am now creating a database, a wealth of audiences and a wealth of ads within my ad account that I know work. And so that's allowing me to start spending more and more and more money every single day profitably. And so this is what you're going to find during scale. You're going to be able to start going from £40 a day to £100 a day, £200 per day, £300 per day, and that's all going to be possible once you start actually using these winners to then test another part of your ad campaign. So if you've got winning ads, go ahead, test new audiences. If you've actually got winning audiences and you want to test a new ad, then you need to pair one with the other. Always try and have one variable so that you know whether it's the ad creative or the audience that's not working. This is very basic stuff. And again, I'll be creating more videos on the ad structure and how you can actually ensure that you do this in a logical way that's going to maximize your return. But logically, that's the way that you want to initially think about it, right? Don't overcomplicate it. Yes, ads can get very, very complicated, but it doesn't need to be, especially in these early stages. Second thing with ads is start investing at this point into new creatives. Yes, you want to continue doing it yourself, but potentially start using those UGC services like Bilo, like Clip, and maybe even look to bring on professional photographer or videographer to create unique content, because by this point you'll know what works. It's worth investing in what you know will work, right? So that's the way to think about it. Also, from an ads perspective, it's probably a good idea to start thinking about different tracking softwares. Triple Whale or WeTracked, again, I'll link both of them below. Really good, solid tracking softwares that are going to allow you to get a much clearer picture of how your ads are performing. Since iOS 14 that came out a few years ago, it's made it an absolute nightmare for a marketer to see actually accurately what is happening and which of your ads are responsible for what sales. So by using tracking softwares, we're able to get a much clearer picture of which ads, which ad sets are responsible for actually generating those sales. And that makes your life much more easier in terms of actually optimizing, scaling, turning off, and doing all of the necessary optimizations within the ad account. And last but not least with ads, this is the stage that you should really start getting clear on your metrics, more specifically your cost per acquisition, your cost per purchase, right? So how much is it costing you to actually generate a new customer? At this point, you should be able to see from the ad account, from all of the ads that you've tried, what is a realistic, consistent cost per purchase, right? And so once you've got that number, that is then going to become your benchmark that you can then use in order to judge whether a new campaign, a new ad set, a new ad is performing at the level it needs to, or whether it's actually underperforming. So this is a stage when you can start getting a little bit more technical and start really making sure that you're putting your money in the things that are going to produce the best returns. Moving on to email at the scale stage, you now need to start sending regular campaigns. At this point, you should have started to build a decent email list, in the few thousands. That is going to warrant you starting to send regular campaigns. So start sending out campaigns. Make sure that you've got a nice mixture of educational versus also sales/offer campaigns, so you can keep that communication regular, but not too regular. And that way you're just going to build and grow the health of your list. And that's going to become very, very crucial as you grow as a brand, because marketing expenditure is only going to grow. The more customers that you're able to contact through email and SMS, the more profitable you're going to be as a business. Another thing to bear in mind here is that if that pop-up that you initially created is converting at less than 5% conversion rate, it's definitely going to warrant you taking a look at it. Maybe you need to change the offer or the incentive and give people a bit more of an incentive to actually subscribe to your emails in order to sign up. But you definitely want to be above 5% here. I'm around 10%. And so that's, really, really good. That means that, every 1 in 10 people are actually signing up to your subscription. And it just means that you're growing your list. And it's really important that you do that because, like I said, it's going to be one of those marketing channels that you can really rely upon in order to grow and scale in the future. And again, you should have been collecting phone numbers. So this is also a great opportunity for you to start sending SMS campaigns as well as email ones as well. Product. At this stage, you've probably just got the one product, right? Couple of things that I am working on right now, and a lot of these things will, be discussed in future videos. But if you are at the sub $100 in terms of average order value point right now, you definitely want to consider ways that you can bring up that average order value. That $100 mark is kind of like the sweet spot, right? Anything above is great, but like realistically, if we can get our brand to an average order value of around $100, we are going to be in such a good place to scale and to continue to grow. It doesn't mean that we have to be at $100, but it's definitely something that if you are sub $100, you should think about. So a couple of things that you can do immediately to try and help with this is, setting up like multi-buy offers, upsells, cross-sells. If someone buys 2 or 3, do they get an extra saving if they were to buy more of that item? Absolutely something you can implement with some really easy to use apps through Shopify, and that's going to be one quick way to bump up that AOV. But also, you can now start thinking about other products to maybe bring into the mix that are potentially variants of what you sell already, or they're complementary products that you can then create bundles or again upsells, cross sells with on your product page. Now, the other thing that you're going to want to be able to do at this stage is obviously forecast product sales. So at this stage, you should understand your CPA, you should understand how much you're spending on ads, and you should really get a good idea as to, what sells, what is a regular day for you, what's a regular week for you, what's necessary in order to, get a customer to buy. And so at that stage, you can start actually forecasting month on month what your sales should be and what is going to be necessary from a marketing expenditure standpoint, as well as a conversion standpoint, in order for it to grow and reach the goals and targets that you set. So it's definitely something that you should do, and definitely something I'm going to be sharing more on because it's something that a lot of brands don't do. And if you don't have that North Star that you're aiming towards and striving to get to, you're going to be doing things blindly. So you need to always have a forecast so you can see how do you reflecting back on that month, how do you weigh up against it? Did you underperform, overperform? It's always good to review that. And the other thing is here, everything I mentioned about that pre-order strategy is something that you can take going forwards when you start introducing new products or new variants of products into the mix, right? That is why I love the pre-order strategy so much. And again, I'll create a separate video on that if you'd like. But that's going to allow you to not always have to seek, new capital or new investment. And that's why you're going to be able to bootstrap a lot of this, because you're going to be able to use a pre-order strategy to test new products, start with smaller inventory, and then actually build up from there in the same way that you did with the original product. And last but not least, guys, is reviews. At this stage, when you start getting into a system with your customers that you're buying on a regular basis and you're actually starting to grow the brand, do not neglect the reviews that you're getting from customers. That is only going to strengthen your brand and your product and your perception to the market. So make sure that you're using an app like Judge.me and that you've got the automated email set up on the back end so that, literally a few days after they receive the product, they are prompted to actually leave a review on the website. Right now, I'm getting about 5 to 10% of my customers leaving a review, which is really, really good. And it means that every week, the number of reviews that I'm getting is just growing and growing and growing, and obviously that's only going to help more customers in the future know that it's a good decision to go ahead and buy my product. So with that being said, I've covered a lot in this video. I hope that you find it useful. This is a start to this brand. It's something that I'm going to be sharing hopefully a lot more about on this channel as I grow it, hopefully to 100,000 per month within the next few months. That's the goal anyway. But yeah, if there's anything from this video that's cropped up that you think would be great and you'd love for me to make a separate video on, let me know in the comments below and I'd be more than happy to do so. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one.